Welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm your host, Javier Proenza. Every week, my guests and I share the answers we found to the questions we have. Join us as we explore and expand our worldview through research and ask what's my thesis. And today, my guest is Dakota Noot. Like that? Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. My last name is really weird. Like, FYI.
Yeah, and it's especially Dakota and Newt together. It's an interesting combination. So I've always been aware of it in
I
that
have get people asking if it's real all the time. So like, you're not alone.
really.
I mean, if I could choose a name, maybe I'd have chosen something a little like different.
No, it's a great name. I'm not. It's not a commentary on the quality of the name. It's just always. I have a thing with names pronouncing them, and usually or now my new policy is that I ask before I start going.
Oh,
And
you're
then,
good. You're perfect.
yeah. So that was a success for me. So yeah, man. So we basically know each other kind of by proxy. Actually, the way you describe it is funny because it sounds like it's almost like I've been stalking you, which to a sense I have indirectly been. But yeah, I've seen a lot of your stuff at openings, right? So because you're part of Museum Adjacent, which
Oh,
is
you
the
would search just on maybe like
yeah,
a
and I
couple
know
of
and I
other.
know some people from and no, but I actually know Molly before pretty much everybody else, and so she's part of that too. That's actually how I know Serge through her, but or pretty much everybody, every other
You make it
human.
sound like a cult. Like,
But I mean, I don't know that maybe it's overlapping cults because I know her through Made in LA and all of that. But yeah, so I've actually seen a lot of your stuff, so I'm excited to talk to you. And you've got a project called Scream Queens, which has always been around that I've also seen.
oh yeah,
But
it's kind of a baby, kind of young.
how long have you been doing Scream Queens?
Wait, pre-pandemic, so wait, like October 2019.
Okay, that's a
Yeah,
pretty
we've been
long
creating a lot
time.
of shows like with like former students mixing with like different artists too. I guess you could say more emerging or established.
Hmm.
Some of them are my former community college kids.
So you're a teacher?
Yeah, I usually like I'm adjuncting during my day job. This is one of the
Okay.
days where I don't teach them like yes, yes, no
Oh,
grading.
nice.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I'm so excited that you're so energetic on your day off. Usually, like, because you guys drive like a fucking crazy amount in California.
Well, I
Do you
mean,
teach?
I'm glad I'm not driving right now. That's why I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'm great.
Yeah, because that is a fucking crazy lifestyle, man. I when I was thinking about going to community college, I was like, oh, or not to community college to grad school. I was like, oh man, do I really want to be an adjunct professor? Like, is that my calling? And then I was like, nah, because like especially out here, it's so competitive. Like it was like getting into the market that you guys are all in, which at this point I'm sure you're established and you have some stability, but like getting the leg up in that shit seems insane to me, man. That's like, you know.
It's not worth it.
I mean, you guys seem happy. Yeah, I know a few, like, the collective adjunct community that I know,
Yeah.
but it also seems like it's a lot of work and very tiring. But it's nice that you're like channeling it into this thing where you're showing the work. So that's cool. I always felt like in my BFA, my teachers were very competitive with
Oh,
me,
okay, I
and
can
they
see
were
that.
worried. So it's nice that you're like. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Why, like how it is that you think about your students?
I mean, I love community college, especially like, I mean, even undergrads compared to grad school, because you're getting more diversity of students, like different ages, different backgrounds. I think the work's also more interesting. Like grad school is very like homogenous
Okay.
and very forced in comparison. Like I like the
Yeah.
fact that someone younger coming into it is like there's more optimism with what they're making, but also like they're usually coming from more of a background like they're working jobs, they're taking care of their family. They're not usually privileged.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, man. I like that. That's crazy. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on school, but it's interesting to see.
I wouldn't recommend grad school.
No, no, I'm way beyond that. Like at this point, it's like post pandemic. I mean, it just seems so crazy to me. You
Unless you
know?
got like a free ride, like completely
Yeah.
free and like a lot of funding,
No, 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 no.
I don't
Yeah.
know, you know. Even then,
But okay. All right, so more about how do you know aside from Tamform, you're part of Monta Vista because I'm actually very proud of myself for not having all of you in the same week. You know, making
Oh yeah, I'm actually like I'm no longer a member of Monta Vista like I was until the pandemic, but I also kind of got busy with my scheduling. Like I was like, okay, I'm teaching too much to focus on
okay.
this. Like I couldn't have the energy.
Oh yeah, I get you. So, but you were part of that. The okay. Now I don't feel so bad because I'm
Oh yeah, you're
interviewing.
totally fine.
No, I'm interviewing Deborah tomorrow, or
Oh yeah,
not tomorrow.
we're not
Next
overlapping.
episode. So post pandemic, you've just been focusing on teaching. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, mostly are making work. I still curate, but more kind of like alternative online when I can. But even then,
Okay.
I'm like, I've kind of burnt myself out with that too. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm taking a break, taking a break.
Totally understand that. Putting out a weekly episode is a
I can't
nightmare
imagine
too.
doing that week to week. Like, the editing too. I'm like,
I don't edit, so that's the
oh,
good
yeah, that's
thing.
good. Like,
But all right, so do you want to get into the topic a little bit? Do we have an idea of what we want to talk about today specifically?
yeah. So like, I was thinking like, okay, I'm looking through the other topics that were used. I'm like, what's something that's like kind of fun but could be
Okay.
serious, maybe, but also maybe kind of nerdy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I'm like, this whole pandemic, I've been watching a lot of movies, specifically Italian murder mysteries called Giallos. So I was thinking about just talking about that, like
All
Dario
right, I can get down with
Argento.
that. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
very interesting. Yeah, I'm actually looking to get into movie recommendations because I'm trying to play fewer video games.
Ooh,
So
what video games are you playing actually?
I'm just trying to quit Overwatch. I've been playing that for too long and just been mediocre at it for too long. I'm like, I'm not progressing and I'm spending hours on this game.
Are the kids online calling you out?
Yeah, I mean, of course. and
Like,
then
why are
I'm
you
like,
doing this?
why am I arguing with little kids?
Put the hate in the chat.
Yeah. No. I'm like, the last one where I was like, I just felt I feel bad because it's like also this thing where people just kind of bait each other with like calling each other trash, and then they call you trash, so, and they're pretending like they're just like casually saying it, but then they want to get into like a long fucking exchange of back and forth. And
You're
I'm
like,
like,
I'm like very down right now. Like these kids are tearing me apart.
well, no, it just becomes this like really weird thing to realize that you're having fucking arguments with children, or like, or whatever, however the fuck old they are. I'm like, I'm a 41-year-old man. I should not be like engaging
They
in
could
these.
even be older than you. Who knows?
They could, but that's even sadder.
Right?
You don't think? I mean,
It's like some grandpa at home being like, I'm gonna get this guy. LOL.
yeah, but yeah. So all right. So okay, let's get into it then.
Oh yeah, let's get into it. Okay.
So
Should
where
I
do you want
talk
to
about
start?
like why I'm into it or just like start off anything?
However you want to start. Like what comes to mind right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess I could do a pretext. Like my own work, I love horror and violence. Especially
Okay.
in this pandemic, like I grew up watching a lot of Lifetime original movies, which sets the bar low.
So you're comfortable with camp? Is your
Yeah,
your
you recently did an episode on camp.
yeah. Well, we covered. I don't think that we did it on Kitsch, but yeah. And thank you for listening to the show, man.
I know, like it all links back up.
Yeah. So okay. So tell me a little bit more. Like, so what kind of horror are you into? Like Takashi Miike, that kind of.
Ooh, okay. I've been in a
Because
lot of like Japanese and Korean horror lately too. Like, oh, I've been also like, oh, speaking of camp, like I watched one recently called like The Happiness of the Katakuris, where like a family's not only like people are dying, but they're singing the whole time.
oh, that sounds amazing. What is it called?
Happiness of the, wait, I have it.
Katakoros?
Katakuri?
Katakoris?
Okay, if someone actually can like correct this, just drop it in the chat, I guess, when this plays. Whatever this is.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a very good cover.
I know that I feel like this is like buying a book. It's like, oh, the cover looked cool.
but I mean, if like based on the parameters you've laid out so far. So okay, so then what are the giallos? Like giallos as in yellows?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess if anyone knows Italian, like giallo in like Italian just means yellow.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like in terms of like a genre, like it referred to like books that were written like Agatha Christie mystery murders, where like someone's dying, they're catching the killer. But then it started to refer to movies that had the same premise, where
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of horror, kind of not, kind of mystery, kind of erotic thriller.
Okay.
Like if you're a fan of erotic thrillers from the 90s, like you get all of that in Giallo plus more 70s sleazy music.
Wait, so my God. Yeah, man. So many questions. So they're murder mysteries in the Agatha Christie vein?
Yeah, so like they're all kind of coming from that, but then like multiplying and crossbreeding with each other. So it's
But
like
like when I
sometimes
think of
no one
that, I'm
dies.
thinking of like old women solving cases.
Oh,
Like,
oh my God, Murder She Wrote. Like,
am I totally off? I should know better because actually I was born. My mom went into labor when she was watching, I think, Murder on the Orient or one of those. Like,
oh, oh my, that's
yeah.
actually good.
Yeah. And well, I'm sorry I interrupted that. I
Oh,
had
that's
to be
fine. I'm
born.
like, you're channeling the vibe. You're feeling it.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why I'm so into it. Like, well, she was huge into Murder She Wrote, so maybe that's why like Agatha Christie. But that is Agatha Christie, isn't it? Am I mistaken? Isn't
Well,
that
like
like kind
Agatha
of like...
Christie has a lot of like more adults. It's not just like grandma solving a murder. It's more of like
Okay.
older people too. I think that's
Yeah.
funny because like the American slasher is all teenagers, right? Or
Yeah.
college
Yeah. Yeah.
kids. Like the Italian horror movies and murder mysteries, they're adults. Like they're in their 30s and 40s. Maybe
Okay.
there's some wrinkles, but they're fabulously rich.
All right. So can you give us some titles and like some basic premises and plot lines that we're gonna get into?
Oh yeah, so most famous is Dario Argento. So like he didn't
Okay. So
really
he's in the
start the
genre.
genre, but he popularized it. Like once his became successful, everyone else started copying like the murders. So like Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Cat of Nine Tails, Deep Red, which is great. Like you're having the great soundtracks from either like Morricone, who's more known for like westerns, or Tarantino right now,
Okay.
or you have Goblin, who did the music for it.
Is Fantomas in that genre?
Wait, would it be?
I don't know. I don't know. Like I just
I
kind
lost the plot.
I did not realize. I thought those were like for the listener, Dakota's wearing. If you want to get a sense of it, you should look at his Instagram,
I
which
also have
is.
knives to stab myself doing this, or also a little beer to pretend to drink.
Is all of that stuff made out of wood? It feels like it sometimes is, or is it mostly paper? Like
It's
the
all
piece.
paper. Like I'm
Okay.
inspired definitely by lino cut printmaking. So like if you're seeing that there's the style, especially like
Yeah.
German printmaking, like I love that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Definitely. And so those are printed, or are they hand
No, they're
drawn?
all hand drawn. It's like crayon, colored pencil, and marker.
Okay.
So it's like
Cool.
a coloring book, but I'm just making up all the rules and images myself.
Wow. So I've actually seen a lot of your stuff in person at like various like things that overlap because they're like conveniently located in the Bendix building and and
I
neighboring
know.
areas
I
and
think
Tam
I've shown
Forum.
actually all of the spots or been a part of something.
The only other place is Tam Forum, and then one time there was a thing at like I was gonna say dentist office, but it was a frame shop in the middle, like in Alhambra or in that
Oh,
area.
finishing concepts.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm definitely a Tam up on my Tam Forum. Oh, no, on my museum adjacent exhibitions.
You're writing the whole list down.
Well, that's why you keep seeing me like that.
I'm like, I
Like,
recognize your face.
yeah, and I recognize your face and your work, but we've just never talked. Like, just because it was like, I don't know. It was weird to just be like, hi. I still
know.
haven't gotten used to that. Like, hi, I know you from Instagram, dude.
Just tell me where the bar is and I'll start talking.
Yeah, exactly. That's when it happens. But all right, so then let's go back to the movies, cause so like I'm trying to like I haven't seen enough Dario Argento movies. Didn't his daughter become like problematic, or she got canceled or some shit? Not
Oh
to
yeah,
sidetrack.
so Asia Argento, she was part of the Me Too movement, but also recently in the past couple of years, it's come out that she was like in an inappropriate relationship, also sending sexual imagery to like one of her younger co-stars that she had starred with.
So she was me tooing.
She was Me Tooing, while Me Tooing,
Yeah. Oh my
like.
god. Well, Me Too is turned out to be an interesting disappointment in
But now she's still
various
acting and
directions.
like working in Italy, so
Yeah. Well, Italians are a little bit more flexible and they need the talent.
If the news cycle doesn't translate, I think they're just ignoring it.
Well, yeah. Let's not get into news cycles. But okay, let's actually lean no because of all that's happening right now. Obviously, um, not that I don't want to acknowledge the whole thing with Palestine and Israel, but let's not get into it. We were having too much fun. So all right. So in terms of like what are okay, so you said the Argento movies are the ones that sort of established kind of the genre that everybody started. So like what are the certain themes that he uses? Like what kind of imagery are we dealing with? Like, you know, because I talk about true crime if you've maybe even listened to one episode that comes up every time. But like what kind of murder mysteries are we talking about? Because going back to what I was saying about my grandmother or my mother is like she loves a lot of those like British sort of Agatha Christie shows too that are like two women that they go to gardens and they always discover murders and like, that's bad. That's bad PR for gardeners, you know. Like they're gardeners slash detectives, and every time they go to like a new place, it's like someone dies at a at the arboretum or whatever the fuck that's called.
It's always convoluted.
So like, what kind of themes are we dealing with?
Oh yeah, I could do a simple breakdown. There typically is a mass killer, usually killing with a razor blade, sometimes other weapons. Most of
is it blade specific?
40s.
Are there guns and ropes and stuff, or is it all like?
Sometimes they sometimes shoot, they sometimes can hang someone, but typically you have a lot of like very intimate, like they're slashing their throats with razor blades.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is something you don't see in like a slasher. Like the slasher, you're seeing like bigger weapons, like you're seeing a machete.
Yeah. It's a little bit more. It's like more Italian and elegant, right? Like,
or like more sexual too. I think maybe that's why, because they're getting closer.
Intimate, yeah, for sure, definitely. So okay, and then like that becomes a genre because I'm trying to think. Like my point of reference is like like I brought up Takashi Miike, who I like. I like a lot of his stuff. I still haven't seen Audition because, oddly enough, that's the
I
one
have it right here on DVD.
I've seen some. I got into all of that stuff for a while, and it is an insane, visceral, like sort of experience. Is that the same thing that we're getting when we're getting that? Because like that is just almost hyper real, right? Like because the makeup is good. Is there camp involved, or am I?
I mean, actually, like you brought up the style of it too. Like they're stereotypically all the like Giallos are colorful, so you're having like crazy contrast. Like Mario Bava, who even became Argento and Argento, you have bright like reds, like saturated blues, yellows, greens, purples, like popping out against the kills, like black lighting, and then just like lights filtered onto it. You get like crazy colors that you don't really get in other movies.
And what kind of fashion are we talking about?
70s funk, strings, like soundtrack, like teasing it out.
So it's in the 70s. It's like that's the kind of I'm picturing like people dressed like in the Kubrick movie, the one in the house, the Jack Nicholson one. What the fuck am I blanking on it?
Oh my god.
Are you blanking on it too?
Drop it in the comment. Whoever listens to this, drop it in the comment. Correct that.
Yeah, what's it called? The Shining.
Yes,
yeah,
okay,
I guess
Shining.
That makes sense why it's hard to get to that
The
from that
Shining's
direction.
more naturalistic in a way.
Yeah.
Like it has like the saturated reds, but The Shining, I feel like, have you ever watched like Pedro Almodovar?
He's the one that did Mujeres, the women on the border of a nervous breakdown.
It's kind of like I see like The Shining kind of in that where it mixes like a 70s, 80s palette with like reds and greens.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like Giallos are more like contrasty. Like there's more blue purples mixed in.
Okay, and more like chiaroscuro.
Yeah,
like,
and also more nudity.
Oh, that's, I mean, sold.
You're getting some 70s sleeves, man.
All right, and then okay, so specific. So then, how do we branch off? Like, where does the genre get picked up? Like, who's the next auteur that sort of takes it and runs with it and it makes it like an interesting, like I'm actually now I'm curious of like what should I look up. Because
Ooh.
I was literally before this one, I made a point to not watch anything about politics because it's all so available, and I watched this documentary narrated by Rob Zombie about the Manson family, and just sort of debunking because there's a lot of new shit. But like I'm definitely in that space, and I could definitely get into a lot of those movies because I'm a little sick of all the superhero content that's not DC based.
Oh my.
Because I try to keep it compartmentalized, and like if it's not good, if it's bad and it's DC, I'll watch it. But if it's bad and it's outside of DC, I'm like, oh, fuck it.
Yeah, it's also like DC animated, like the cartoons versus what you're watching.
Exactly.
Like, where's the bar set?
Yeah, yeah. But all right, so who would be the next person?
Oh, I mean Fulci. Okay, I think Fulci's probably the most famous too. Like he started off before Giallos, made a couple Giallos, but like his most famous movie is Zombie, which kind of
Okay.
rips off Romero, but like it's really well known for being violent, gory, and bloody. And then he
Okay.
does cosmic horror after that with like The Beyond, City of the Living Dead, House by the Cemetery, where like people are interacting with, like he goes to New Orleans, like he goes away from Italy, makes these like supernatural thrillers based off his film, and like people's eyes are getting gouged out, they're seeing visions where they can't see. It could be fun to look up.
So I'm getting the sense that psychological is not the only part of the thriller that you're into. Like you like the fucking gore. You like to
Oh, I love
see.
Gore. I love Gore.
Well, it's funny though, because like I mean, it's always great to see these things and have these conversations because I would have never known from your work. I mean, to some degree, maybe like there's a sub like a sub darkness, but this whole genre isn't necessarily something that I'm picking up, right? Like even in the colors that you have right now, like other than the big like red thing in the background, which kind of fits with.
Oh yeah, I
What
didn't
is
pick
that?
it up
That's.
quite accurately. I'm like, yeah, it's good enough. There's some orange in this video.
Oh no, it's great. It's great. Oh, that's orange. It looks red from like to
It's
me.
more orange in person.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, these uh, these peeps on my shirt are yellow. So.
Oh, I see that. You're
Anyway.
actually blue.
Yeah, that'd be amazing if it was just completely.
I'm like,
Well, that guitar in the background isn't all black. Now that we've had our, it's actually transparent gray. It's actually transparent black, but it has a very nice maple top on it. Anyway.
ooh. I mean, I love it.
All right, that's enough of our visual segment. Let's get back on track. So, okay, so then actually that's fascinating because, like, all right, how do you feel like? I do you feel like? Okay, I'll frame it like this. I feel like when people look at my work, I don't expect them to know that I have like a true crime fascination, right? Like, because that's not like necessarily the content. Are you surprised that I didn't necessarily pick up on this on you, other than the fact that your other project is called Scream Queens, which
Oh, yeah.
fair enough, but like is that like do you feel like that is something that you intentionally work in, or is this just like a side fascination for you?
I think I work with a lot, or like horror in general. I think people are surprised because like when they look at my work, they think I'm more like maybe vegan,
Okay.
or if I'm making fun of like food too in like a playful way. They don't always think if it's like horror that I'm like kind of more laughing at it than they think I am.
Yeah. I get you. So then, all right. Like then let's get back into who was it? All I remember is Fauci.
Oh,
Who-
Fulci, yeah. Oh my, Fulci's so good.
Fulci.
Oh, I he, I have like he's like my like top director in terms of like the movies I have here.
Really?
I
What
know.
was
I'm like, what's up with that?
is this like this is your favorite genre, the giallos, or this is just an interesting like place that you like that has interesting history? Because I'm trying to figure out like What else you like now?
Probably cartoons. I mean, anime too. I guess that's more of like a literal thing you could see. Like Fantastic Planet is like number one.
Okay, Fantastic Planet was that? That's an anime?
Well, it's more kind of like a French surreal weird cartoon with like sci-fi style.
Okay, because when you said Planet, the first thing I remembered was Captain Planet, and I don't know if you're familiar with that shit, but
Yeah.
it was awful.
I think it's making a comeback or a reboot.
Oh my god, talk about things that I just was not interested because there was so many interesting cartoons when I was a kid on like just like on syndication, you know, like Animaniacs was on and things like
Ooh.
that.
I
So
grew up with Animaniacs. I also grew up with like late 90s, like early 2000s, like Courage the Cowardly Dog.
okay,
Our
that was a
Cow and
little
Chicken
bit
before
after me,
that.
but it seems like it's always funny when you just miss those things by like a generation, you know, like Doug was just on the tail end leading into the Cowardly Dog. That was like
I
the
watched
last
Doug
thing.
too.
Yeah, at Rugrats I also got into, but like those were like the Nick things when I was like still a teenager. Once got into my 20s, like I like that's when Cowardly Dog and like what is it? The two-headed dog or the two-headed cat or there was like some
Oh,
random
oh
shit.
my God,
Johnny
Cat Dog.
Bravo. What's that?
Cat Dog.
Cat Dog. That's the one.
Yes. I'm like, I can't tell you a plot.
I have no idea what the show is about, but I just knew that like oh that's the thing the kids are into now.
It's kind
Good
of
for them.
horrifying because it's like a cat and dog like fused together.
Yeah.
Like,
I just had the going back to horror. I just had the horrifying thought of like you know in the vein of what's it called the human centipede. What if the cat
mm.
pooped dog poop out of its mouth and the dog?
That's what I'm doing right now. But
That's where my head went. But all right, so Fulci. So what did he bring to the picture?
gore, violence. I
Even
mean,
more so, like less
even
campy.
more. Like, wait, do you know Herschel Gordon Lewis?
No.
Like the early kind of splatter, like him and like Fulci, they're sometimes called like the godfathers of gore.
Mm-hmm.
Because like they were gorier, they had more effects, like people are falling off cliffs, their eyes are getting gouged out, their guts are spilling, their faces are melting. Even if
Yeah,
it
yeah.
looks cheap, they just like went at it, threw the acid, threw at the prosthetics, and had fun with it.
So like more intense than Scanners we're talking about? More intense like
Yeah, I would say so. Like
okay, cuz
Scanners isn't
Scanners
that
is
gory.
no, it's not, but I mean it's people's brains blowing up.
Like Cronenberg's done gory movies.
What would be a gore? Oh, is that where I got who made Fantomas? I'm trying to think of like how I know cuz that is definitely an Italian. You don't have to Google it.
I was like,
If you don't know, so the people that know, and the people that don't know don't care that are
They're
listening.
like, I don't
You
know.
know,
I don't know.
it's like whatever. This is more of a personal
I'm not
curiosity.
an
But
expert in any kind of Italian cinema. So.
no, me neither. Me neither. But it is sort of like one of those spooky ghost things. I don't even like it that much. It's just one of the ones that I've seen that I was like interested in. Do you? Okay, so Fulci and Gore. Are we getting away like gore in what context? Like you know, because obviously you've got Audition, which is for people that don't know what Audition is. It's a story which I haven't been able to watch because it sounds so
It's a date
jarring.
movie.
I like basically it's a dude that auditions a whole bunch of people in the with a like with a pretext of making a movie or some kind, but he's like what's it called? But he's like really trying to date someone. And if that sounds problematic, don't worry, he gets his. But and that's the part that I haven't gotten into. Like I haven't, or actually, that's just why I haven't watched the movie. I've watched movies of his where it's like constant violence and gore, but something about that one seems really traumatizing because he's a really good filmmaker, Takeshi Miike,
He
and
did
he's
this movie. Okay, I forgot about that. Like, this
okay.
is a silly movie, like a horror comedy by him. That's not like Audition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh, there's a reason I thought of it.
And which movie was it? Because
Happiness of the Katakuris?
Happiness of the Katakuris. Cool. And he's done a bunch of stuff where I'm a huge fan. So like going back to before we get into Takeshi Miike, because obviously we're gonna end up talking about it because that's the only thing that I know in this genre. Let's get back to what you know, and so like how Audition is interesting, how it contextualizes it. Like, what is and like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, which is the other guy, the guy that did the Lady Vengeance, Sympathy for
And
Mr.
Old
Vengeance,
Boy.
and Old Boy, the Korean filmmaker. Those that was like when I got into it, and then I was like, I don't need to feel this visceral all the time.
I
But
love
those were
Asian horror, like Japanese or Korean. Like they're more violent.
no, but they're not just more violent. I think that
They're
Sympathy for
stranger
Mr.
too. Like they're not afraid to go there with anything.
They'll fuck you. They're like the same thing. They do the same thing that Parasite, the movie Parasite. You saw that one? Like they're heavy like that. They're not just gory. Like Takeshi Miike, what is it? Ichi the Killer is all about fucking sadists and masochists
Oh, I love
looking
Ichi
for
the Killer.
masters. It's like it is fucked up. It is like about horrible, horribly abusive relationships that are gratifying to all the participants. So I don't know if that's like makes it okay. In
I
our
mean, they're
current
cathartic
climate.
to watch, especially during the pandemic.
But yeah. So anyway, what's Fulci like?
Fulci's like that, precursor to it. You have the violence. The effects might not be like as big budgeted as what you're saying with also like Japanese or Korean cinema, or even
Mhm.
now with like what we expect from like American too, with like the torture porn, like where
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like throwing money at like torture, torture, torture. Fulci had fun in the 70s and 80s on a budget.
And so, like, but like, what kind of like storylines? What Give me a sense of like, what? How did he fuck with your head too? Right? Like, other than just the gore.
He also like attacked religion a lot. Like one of his movies that also kind of got like inspired Quentin Tarantino is called Don't Torture a Duckling. It's where this priest is killing young boys to keep them innocent.
Are you into true crime as well, dude?
Yeah, I love
I
true
mean, you
crime.
said Lifetime movies, so
It all relates.
yeah. Well, but it's just interesting because this is like not an area that I've gotten that deep into, But these movies sound like they're less intense than like going down. Like I couldn't imagine doing like a marathon, Like,
He has enough fun stuff in the batch to like switch it up.
all right, but like to watch like let's say like I mean maybe a double feature, like but like I don't think I could watch like six. How do you know Mystery Science Theater 3000 the
Yeah.
show? Like I mean I they had a reboot, so it's still relevant, but like on Thanksgiving they would play like all of their episodes back to back. Right, it was the Turkey Day marathon. I couldn't do a Takeshi Miike marathon like that. Like it would fucking destroy me. I would be so desensitized,
I feel like their commentary helps watching the movie.
Yeah, exactly. But so all right. So but like, is it like themes of father sons? Is it themes of like you know does it like what kind of what are Fauci's narrative themes? I guess is the word that I've been trying to get to.
A lot
I
of
said
like
context.
supernatural. So like if Dario Argento has like supernatural like witchcraft, like Suspiria is really famous, especially since it got the reboot. Fulci
Uh-huh.
was more interested in like the cosmic horror, like the afterlife with his movies. So like
Okay.
people going insane, like having visions, gouging out each other's eyes because they're going so crazy. To like they after they were done with the murder mysteries, they just like amped it up into witchcraft.
So that's crazy. Is that I wonder what the so like I don't know. I don't know what like Italian witchcraft and like I think of witchcraft as such a like Germanic or like American or Anglo like concept. So like cuz like I think of Italians as more pagans, right? Like not like necessarily like believing in elementals, that kind of thing. So it's interesting that shit that maybe that's a cult to them, like
I
culturally
guess
like
I could have talked
weird.
about that earlier, but like Italy, especially in like the 60s and 70s, it's not only like post-fascism with Mussolini, it's also like questioning like the Roman Catholic Church
Mm.
too. So like you get a lot of that coming out like with it, where like priests are killers in these movies, or like sometimes even when the priest is the killer, they're acknowledging the movie like, oh, he's a priest, we can't even charge him, it's just gonna cover it up. And then the police are like never doing any of the work. It's always some amateur person coming and solving all like the crime.
It's basically Chinatown, right?
Yeah.
It's Catholic town. That's hilarious.
But I guess so relevant now. The police still aren't doing the work.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a bummer. Wow, there are definitely a lot of topics related to this that are like fraught. Because I definitely don't want to talk about police, but it's interesting how, I don't know, Italian cinema is just as a general concept is kind of interesting too, because it has to do with like what you were saying, those contexts. I don't know if you've ever watched The Bicycle Thief.
Ooh, I've heard of it, haven't watched it.
It is like a hard movie to watch. It's mostly a guy bitching and like doing monologues of like how fucked up society is. I don't know. I'm sure people are dying right now. I watched it in the
That's what
class.
recite right now. Just drop them on.
People are like, this guy's a Philistine. Fuck him. But yeah, it's crazy to me to think about like. I mean, I know it's one of those movies that I guess you have to watch in context, right? Like, but
Arsalo.
Arsalo, what's that?
Or like Salo, like speaking of like Italian cinema, like Salo with like the famous like poop eating.
Oh, I don't know that. What is that?
I mean, I guess like Italy is typically known for more like art house. So people think of Fellini or like Pasolini. Like one of the biggest one about that's like a political movie is Salo, where it's like it's a spoof on Marquis de Sade's 120 Days of Sodom, where they're eating poop.
Oh, yeah.
It's not real. It's like it is a fake effect.
It's not fucking what's her name?
Like...
Divine. Who was it that ate the poop in the what's his name movie?
Oh.
The guy that loves Baltimore.
Oh my God, John Waters. That is real.
Yeah, that one is real.
Divine and John Waters called up like the local health thing before it, and it's like, what happens if my child accidentally ate dog poop?
That's how to use your tax dollars, man, for yourself, right? Use your services. Shit,
that's why we need free healthcare.
Yeah. So we don't have to call poison services or whatever the fuck. That's great. So yeah, I mean, there's so much to say about Italian cinema that is like outside of my purview. So, which is a shame. I like the best that I can talk about is like the Fazzolini movies. Are you familiar with this concept at all, Fazzolino? Or no?
What is that like? What does that translate to?
Fuck, maybe it's been so long that I can't remember what his name is. Let me. This one I have to Google.
Yeah, like we're like this is some Google time, some thesaurus over here.
Cause fuck, what is his name? You know what? Let's just change the subject. Because it was there's this like genre of movie. Fuck, man, I'm so embarrassed that he's like so important. But it's basically this. It's kind of like the cultural Italian Homer Simpson, where he's this like really dumb fat guy. Oh my God. Well, we couldn't think of The Shining earlier, so this is not that bad. But
if anyone's Italian in the comments, please drop it.
Yeah, I love it. You're getting the people. You are a great YouTuber, man.
Not with this lighting, no.
No, you look great. You look great for
Yeah.
sure. At least I can see you. Sometimes it's like really dark, or like the lighting is coming from right above. But anyway, so the guy is like, there's some really good movies with him. Fantozzi, cazzo. His name is Fantozzi.
Fantastic.
Anyway, Fantozzi. You should definitely check out. There's one in particular. I forget what it is, but it's basically a guy just being. It's this Italian guy. It's with two Z's like pizza. Fantozzi.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah. No, that's why I spelled it. So so he's this. It's fucking iconic. So he's this old guy. His wife is hideous. He's this old Italian fat guy. He's bald. He's miserable. It's all slapstick comedy. There's one time that he goes skiing in the Swiss Alps, and it's just like the misery that his life is basically like the running theme. And but it's a very Italian life. At the same time, you know, he watches soccer on the television. He yells at the television. He like sits in like a tank top and in his underwear to watch TV. It's like, it's very like, it's the same kind of concept as like a Homer Simpson, but it's just, and I mean essentially, but like there's this like thing that it's almost like this like Italian colloquial idiot, that like the village idiot that kind of keeps giving, and his life and work. I don't know. I guess I'm done explaining it. Just
I
fucking
love it.
watch it.
I'm on for this. I'm gonna look it up after this.
Fantozzi is amazing. He's a cultural icon. He was on TV all the time. But yeah, the Italian movie industry in general, there's like so much money behind like even just voiceovers. Like versione originale, which is like not undubbed, like subtitled versions of movies, are nowhere near as popular as like straight dubs, because the like, and I think I've said this before on the show, but like the same guy did the voices of Robert De Niro, and Sly Stallone, and I'm gonna say what's his name? Dustin Hoffman. No, it is Dustin Hoffman. Same. So they would do movie marathons on television with the same three guys, or with those three actors. Completely different, like work movie, you know, genres,
In the same tone.
but with the same voice, just because they had this like iconic voice actor. So anyway, so yeah, man. Like, any other thoughts on Cinema Giallo? You've definitely made me want to like watch more, and any more recommendations, other directors and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, actually, speaking of dubbing, like most of these from the 60s, 70s, 80s, they're badly dubbed into English, which is the charm of it. Like, they say crazy stuff. It doesn't always make sense what the plot is. Like, it makes it more fun. Like, today we're so much more obsessed with like subtitles and accuracy of it, versus the Italians are like, what's going to make a quick buck? I don't care what it's translated into.
Yeah.
Which, like, I love that attitude.
What do you know about camp, actually, since you brought up the camp episode? Like, I'm guessing you have a perspective on it that, as a straight guy, I don't necessarily have at all.
Yeah, I mean, I love camp too. Like, obviously, I work with artifice too. Like, and also, I grew up a lot of B movies, a lot of melodramas too. I love like laughing at stuff, but also loving something for being kind of bad, hodgepodge, and over the top.
So is that like... Wait, I'm sorry. Am I assuming that you're gay, or is?
Oh yeah, I'm queer.
Okay, like that would have been so fucking awkward.
Yeah.
but isn't there like a certain ownership, or you can't speak to the politics? I mean, I don't expect you to necessarily.
Yeah,
know.
I think like definitely gay, like queer community has a history with camp, but also it's like straight people too have a history with like camp. Like how many?
No, I don't think it's necessarily.
Watch or like sci-fi too is campy.
What are you into sci-fi? Because then I'll have to have you back for that shit.
Straight people can enjoy camp. Like, there's so many genres that are campy.
Okay, so so I appreciate that, because you're basically saying that I'm allowed to talk on camp.
Yeah, you can watch camp and enjoy it and be campy. Like, I don't see a problem with that.
All right, cool.
Was that not?
I was doing the whole woke thing, you know, like the times are weird. So I was like, hey, you're a gay person, you can talk about it, but I'm like, I appreciate that.
I think anyone can enjoy like a bad, funny movie that's camp.
Yeah, you see shit on Twitter and on Tinder, or at non Tinder.
On Tinder.
That would be a weird place for me to see that.
On
You
Hinge
see-
or Hinge or whatever the new one.
no, on Instagram, and you're just like, all right, like I mean, it basically Instagram is my guide for what I can and can't say.
Whatever's hashtag.
I basically like just guide based on that, and I'm like, let's not step into that because I don't know enough about it. And then other ones I'm like, no, fuck all you guys are wrong.
You're like
Yeah, straight to the jaw.
80s horror camp and it knows it.
Yeah, well, are you into like the more mainstream stuff? Like what?
Yeah, like I grew up a lot of mainstream, like anything too. Like I grew up on Hellraiser, like Freddy,
That's what I was gonna
Jason,
ask.
all of the slasher icons too. Like they're all camp, especially Freddy's really camp.
So which is your I remember going to see the 3D one in movie theaters in Italy, which was fun.
Oh, like 3D is really fun. It also has like the electronic synth soundtrack, which is really good.
Yeah, I thought that
Friday
was
the
pretty.
13th.
My memory of it was pretty good. There's definitely a scene that I related to, which is so like their generation of kids that won't understand where they unfold the map. Do you remember that one where they unfold a
they're
map
doing
and
the
it just keeps
directions.
and it just keeps unfolding and there's always like another layer fills up the van.
Unless someone in the here is old enough to have had MapQuest at some point. Like I don't know.
So yeah, do you have recommendations on the more mainstream stuff? Like which would be the best Jasons?
Oh, I love like Jasons that are campier. So like Jason X, where it's in space,
Okay.
or like Leprechaun is a
Hold
great
on.
series.
I lost. Oh no, I got you. Anyway, what was it? Say it again.
Yeah, so like Jason going in space with Jason X, where like it's in the future and there's holograms. Like it's really campy. Also, you see people from like Battlestar Galactica acting in it.
Like the original one or the subsequent one, or the
Subsequent
reboot.
ones.
Okay.
Unless someone wants to correct that, I don't know.
And what about now that we're in space, sci-fi crossover, Event Horizon?
Oh, I love Event Horizon.
Okay. I went into that not knowing it was a horror movie, so I was a little bit like
Oh,
I wanted
no.
to like I wanted a more sci-fi movie, but in retrospect, it's probably pretty dope.
It's really great. It also got like a cleaned up release recently too.
Really?
By the
All
way,
right.
I'm not trying to pimp it out. Like
No, that sounds amazing though. I'm down to fucking to watch one of your favorite ones and maybe have a conversation about it so that I'm a little bit
like
better
that
informed.
sucks.
No,
Yeah,
not
you
at all.
should.
No, I'm all, dude. I'm also just like so like over the fucking like I don't know about you, but how many people have you been interacting with the last year? Now that the mask mandate is off, I'm like, hey, maybe this guy could be a friend.
I know it's weird because like I feel like, oh my god, is something gonna happen? Like you're meeting up with someone in a parking lot, like what? Like I'm seeing you at their house from the fence. Like, am I gonna get sick? I feel like it's still weird, but I'm like, I guess it's not.
No, well, I think that one of the things that's weird is that here in California, like the CDC is like, hey, it's cool. You don't have to have masks inside. I'm still working in retail, so like, I still have to rock a mask, but I'm over it. You know, I could totally like take it off.
Especially you deal with more like random people coming in than like
Yeah.
meeting up with like a friend.
And it's a big fucking space, but like, so anyway, I think that Newsom is like trying to like probably really spice it up for his liberal followers out here because
Waiting for that recall. Just kidding.
yeah, he's trying to. No, that's my joke. Yeah, I'm saying because like, fuck it, man. Like to wait until June 15th when like the CDC is already saying like it's all good. I'm just like,
I know once they said that, I'm like, there's gonna be no going back for like anyone. They're just gonna be like, woohoo. They know what they were saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm ready to just fucking make out with strangers that I'm not even like attracted to.
That's how close you're gonna get.
It's just like I want to lick your face. Is that cool?
That's camp.
But yeah, no. Anyway, I might hit you up for a list and what's it called? Yeah, I'm
I
just
mean, horror
like
movies in general, like I guess I watch a lot.
what other kind of so Jason X. I saw that Freddy versus Jason is
Oh, that's the one
on
I
one of
grew
my.
up with as a kid.
Oh, okay, so I should watch that. That's a good one.
It's really campy. It mashes the two of them up. If you don't go in seriously, it's fine. It also has in like a bit role, like the actress from Ginger Snaps, Catherine Isabel, who is also an American Mary. It's really fun.
What is it? What is Scream Queens now? I'm
Oh
trying to tie it
yeah.
back because I don't think you told me it was new, but do I know what it is or did you say it already?
Oh yeah. So like I guess me and my husband, I'm straight. Like me and my husband, we just curate like pop-up shows, also sometimes online under the moniker Scream Queen for our project. So sometimes
Okay.
they've been horror related, sometimes not. Sometimes they've been pretty witchy, even when we're not trying to do horror.
Are you at all into like ritual magic and any of that shit? Or like has this fascination translated into real life?
I mean, most of the people I work with are, but like for me, I'm like, I just love watching like witchcraft and on TV.
Were you into Charmed or was that not?
Oh
Is
yeah, Charmed was like an after school watch for me back in the
yeah.
day.
Okay. All
Oh
right.
wait, have you seen? Okay, Embrace of the Vampire with Alyssa Milano. Like speaking of Charmed,
Embrace of the Vampire. I think I have, but
it's
I
like
think
a
that's the one where
sleazy '90s.
that was huge in the 90s because she shows her boobies.
Yes, I watched it recently and it was actually really fun. And there's a
Oh really?
photographer in it. So I laughed at the art thing.
Yeah. I I'm not even embarrassed that that's why I know the movie.
It's a great movie. It's like it's very sensual and fun. Like I was actually surprised a woman directed it
Really?
too. So I think that's also why you see like the female actors getting more comfortable with it.
Right on. Right on. Ladies directing ladies is good, I guess.
There's worse vampire like erotic movies too to go
What's
into.
the worst one?
I don't know. I mean, maybe probably like the Jess like Jesus like Jesus Franco or Jess Franco, like more of like 70s lesbian vampires, but they're also fun and cheesy too. So I'm like, I don't know. I
Man,
can't
you're an
think of a bad vampire movie.
encyclopedia.
Twilight? I don't know.
How many hours would you say you've watched horror? Because like, do you feel like the intro to into that stuff? Like, how did you get into horror to begin with? Like, what was your like who was like, yo, let's do some horror. This is what you should be into.
It's funny, like growing up, like my parents never watched like a horror or any kind of scary movie or even like film noir. At like mostly I was watching like Harry Potter. Which
Okay.
like what? It was probably like my undergrad too. Like I was really vibing with like Hellraiser and Clive Barker, where like the Cenobites are creatures from hell and they're sexual and S&M. That was like my gateway into watching like horror. After that, like B movies, Roger Corman, everything after.
So how old were you when you got into that?
Probably like 20s, early
20s.
20s.
Okay. Wow, man.
When I watch bad movies.
No, I mean it's to me like cinematic knowledge and like niche ification and like it's fascinating to me, right? Like, what is it that like? I mean, I can relate only in terms of like listening to a lot of podcasts, right? Because that's kind of what I.
It's
But I'm
also what you're
getting
doing right now.
yeah, exactly. But like but it's different. It's so interesting because movie watching is such a passive experience, right? But it seems like with this is like there's a lot of thought going on. You don't necessarily have to pay close attention. It's not like you're watching like fucking Citizen Kane and like taking notes on like all the subtle hints at what Rosebud could be.
I mean, you could. There, you could analyze any horror movie if you want.
Yeah.
But
But no, that it seems it's just interesting to get into like such a specific like I don't know.
I watch other
Like
movies. I feel
no,
bad.
but like I don't watch as my fascination is more in not in the fact that I'm just now starting to watch movies again, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
just now making the effort. So it's interesting to like make the time for that and like really like get into all the like visual details of it cuz like my like I don't know, I'm a lot more I'm just dumb when it comes to I know that you're watching dumb movies, but like I feel like there's like an education too.
I
That's
don't think you have to.
you know, like I feel like I don't know. I feel like the fact that it's niche knowledge. See if you follow me on this. The
Oh
fact that
yeah.
it's niche horror knowledge, and I'm actually really impressed because you can list off a whole thing. It's as impressive and as sophisticated to me as if you had like a fascination with like I don't know like really sophisticated movies. You know, like not even like the top AFI, but like you know, like if you were a scholar of fucking all
Oh, your
of,
like Criterion selection is coming out.
or if you were like, I know I've seen every single fucking Kira Kurosawa movie, and I can
And you
quote every
imported
line from,
it on
you
DVD.
know, like it's almost this like noble a quest, right? Like even though it's like camp and all of that, like it's fascinating the level of interest. Anyway, I don't know.
I
I'm
wish I had
super.
more knowledge too. Like, I mean, I've started to watch more international cinema, like more like Japanese movies
Yeah.
too. Japanese horror is always rich from any decade, especially rich in ghost stories.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those are definitely a little more elegant, I guess. Hopefully.
No, but I'm into the fact that you're like, I don't know. To me, the journey of just like you watch Hellraiser and all of a sudden you become this like scholar, like because it's like so it's also just so adjacent to shit that I'm into, but like it never happened for me, you know. Like I'm jealous almost.
Well, I mean, relates to music. I mean, I see an interest in music in the background feel.
No. I'm not saying that I'm not happy with who I am. I'm
Yeah.
just like am really in awe of like of these little niche like you know knowledge base, right? Like that
I guess
because
whatever
it's
keeps us going through the pandemic.
and because it's passion based, right? Like you're not into it because it's not insincere. It's not a contrivance, right? Or like an affectation. It's like you like are legitimately into this shit. So anyway, thanks for sharing that with me,
Thank
dude.
you.
Yeah, man, I definitely am interested in having you back on. I
To watch
just
Audition.
I'll watch Audition. Yeah. No, for sure, man. I'm like I'm much more curious. Sometimes I have episodes where I feel like I don't know enough to ask informed enough questions to get the guest going and then end up rambling, so I feel a little weird, but I
I
do
think you're
appreciate
great. I'm also like, I'm curious to look up Phantasmos too. Like, I've heard of it, but I haven't gone around to watching it. I'm like,
it's
why
just
is
like a
that?
it's like the what's cool about it is just like it's a girl that lives in like a sleepover school, and that was a fascination because I went to a really dope like private school when I was a
Ooh.
kid, and I used to fantasize it about being a boarding school. Said I just would could be there all the time because there was just so much stuff to do. It was like kind of Hogwartsy. So
Oh my God, a bunch of the Giallo like Italian movies have like boarding schools. Like there's one called like What Have You Done to Solange, where this professor is like sleeping with the students, and then one of them is also dead.
one of the students is dead.
Yeah, one of the students got killed. They're like, oh, what? What? And then
Yeah.
his wife finds out that he's been sleeping with everyone.
I love that. Have you noticed that there's like a thing now in true crime shit where it's like everybody is like, well, this guy, it wasn't just this guy alone. There's now the Sons of Sam documentary, and there was one on Peacock that was about John Wayne Gacy.
Oh, I've been watching the bits of the John Wayne Gacy one where like, no, it's connected to like the cult trafficking, like the kids. It's like, oh,
Yeah. Like it was like a snuff film circle that they had, which is interesting. Uh, but yeah, can you imagine living in a fucking house that smells like dead bodies? Like his wife.
that's why like I pan around like, look.
It smells great in here.
Yeah, you don't know. Febreze it.
Cool, man. Any other thoughts that you have to part with before we start getting into like promos and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, if you're curious about anything you watch, like there's a lot of like scary horror movies on YouTube you can watch for free. Or Tubi is also free. Canopy's free if you have a library card. I like free
Canopy.
stuff. Check out
No, I'm down. That's where I'm watching I'm watching it on YouTube with commercials. The what's his name? The Charles Manson documentary. That shit is interesting. Are you up to date on like
I
the new
haven't watched
stuff?
it yet.
Well, I haven't finished that
I've been
one.
watching Dark Side of the Ring instead recently.
What's
About
that?
wrestling.
What's Dark Side of the Ring?
It's like the dark side of wrestling. It's in a show like in its second season.
Are you into wrestling, dude?
I got sucked into it. I don't really know a lot. I wish. I mean, my husband is into wrestling too. Like he could literally do an episode all on wrestling.
Is he an artist?
Yeah, like if you wanted, like
Yeah.
90s
Well, I'll
wrestling,
get his info.
era,
I've had wife and husband couples, so why not husband?
he knows that. I'm like,
Yeah, no, I'm curious. There was I'll save it for his episode. But I used to watch wrestling in Italian, and there was a guy that did the Lipton iced tea commercials, and he would speak Italian with an American accent. If you can imagine what that sounds like, phenomenale. It was pretty wild.
like the fake accents and backgrounds, like even now, where like people are still pretending to be Russian. I'm like, what?
So, do you recommend? Have you watched all the Hellraisers? Are you into Saw? What like of the
I've
contemporary
watched all the
stuff?
Hellraisers, even the straight to DVD ones, even coming
Okay.
out recently. So
Because
Which not a
I
lot of
only
people have.
recently understood what a Cenobite was. I didn't realize that they were like human figurative things. I thought they were like kind of gremlins or critters type creatures. But
No,
now
they're
I'm-
originally human, transformed into kind of a hellish demon. Clive Barker makes them more demonic in his stories.
I love how casual you are about like describing this stuff. You know,
I
no,
mean,
they're
some of Clive
humans.
Barker's writing isn't good, so maybe don't dive in too much.
Clive, okay. And are you into Carpenter stuff? Speaking of synth music,
Yeah, John Carpenter. Okay, John Carpenter is like king of the 80s too.
what are your favorites of his?
What do I have here? Wait, where's my 80s horror?
Also, shout out to you for still having fucking DVDs. Jesus Christ!
I know.
What year were you born?
I like collecting DVDs from like thrift stores.
God damn! How much was your DVD player? Like 8 cents?
Right? Well, I mean, my computer still plays a DVD, even though some don't now.
I have some DVDs for you. I will gift you some DVDs. They're not horror,
I will
but
accept your
I have
DVD
some like
offer.
random ones that you can add to your collection if you
Oh,
want.
Night of the Comet's a great 80s movie that's fun and campy.
Night of the Comet? Okay.
Yeah.
That rings a bell.
It used to be big on like streaming too. Like, God, like back when Netflix actually like had like a selection.
All right, cool, man. All right, well then, how can we promote you? Like, what is stuff that you want people to find you on, and what is, and then after that, tell us the stuff that you don't want people to know about that's really hidden deep in the internet.
Okay.
That'd be a great new segment.
That's great.
Your
Get in on
greatest
Dark Note.
social media embarrassment. No, you don't have to do that. Please
The
don't.
body's in the closet.
All right, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I'm Dakota Noot on every platform. My last name is Noot. I'm the only Dakota Noot in the world, so no matter how you spell it, it'll pop up my name.
All right, that sounds
Yeah.
great and very convenient. And I am at Javier Proenza and at What's My Thesis on Instagram and everything else. You can find us on YouTube, rate and review us 5 stars only. We only accept 5 stars on all of your platforms. And I need to start doing what you were doing. It's like, comment on this topic down below. That's amazing. That's engagement, dude. You're like, are you a millennial or are you a Gen X?
I would be millennial because I was born 93, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I offended you by it.
I feel like they also changed the millennial stuff too, where now like people who were Gen X are now looped into it, and now what's the youngest generation? Like, what are they calling it?
I think that what they've tried to do is make a Xennials generation,
That's
which
not
is like
catchy.
yeah, they tried to like sneak in the idea that like because technology sped up so fast, there was like a new generation. They tried to make a subcategory that included me, but I'm 80, so I'm like the last of a Generation X people. But to me, it's just like, fuck you. Some generations get more shit, you know?
We're all broke no matter where we are.
You know, yeah. But anyway, I totally relate to your DVD collection, and I appreciate you sharing it with us because I used to have so many videotapes of just Buffy the Vampire Slayer and like all these like I used to do the outdated media savings technique of like just like you know like back when VHS was getting out of fashion, it was like really fucking cheap to just buy VHSs, and I still had
People
a VHS
still collect
players.
them now,
Yeah, they do.
which
But
it's fascinating. I love seeing it.
it's just so much more space than DVDs.
I know.
But
I mean, not in like a studio apartment in LA. That's not where your collection's at.
hell no. All right, man. Well, it was a pleasure to actually finally meet you. It's exciting to know that next time I run into you, I'll be able to say hi without any social awkwardness, other than the
No, you're
fact that
fine. You can talk
other
to
than the
me.
fact that we'll be like, "Hey, is this like? Is it okay that I don't have a mask?"
You're like cough cough, and you start like,
But yeah, I was really excited to meet you. And here, let me. I always forget that I can stop recording. Bye, everyone.
bye.